Okay students, so today we are going to learn sectors of Indian economy. So this is a very important chapter and today we are going to learn about this chapter. But before going to main discussion, let us see what we will be discussing or what are the contents of this chapter. Mainly primary sector, secondary and tertiary. Thereafter organized sector, unorganized sector. Last one would be public and private sector. Private. So in your textbook it has been given that you have to learn these sectors of the Indian economy. So you have to understand the economical activities, dividing them into sectors. So main three sectors are primary, secondary and tertiary. Economical activity mainly divided into three types of sector: primary, secondary and tertiary. So main three sectors are divided for economical activities in an economy. So primary sector, what is the definition of primary sector or what does come in primary sector? So definition of primary sector is basically harnessing natural resources. So primary sector mainly deals with harnessing natural resources. Example: farm activity, dairy, mineral mineral. They deal with harnessing natural resources. We directly get them from nature. Dairy, mineral, we directly get them from nature. So that's why they are primary activities, and the people associated with the works are considered in primary sector because they deal with harnessing natural resources like farm, dairy, mineral. This sector, they are in primary sector. But on the other hand, secondary sector, what does secondary sector mean? Manufacturing using natural resources. So this sector, secondary sector, depends on primary sector. That's why it is called secondary sector. Here what does happen? Manufacturing was happen. What do you mean by manufacturing sector here? Through natural resources, like suppose I say that from earth we get earth, then we make it brick. It has been given in your textbook, that's why I have given this example. So brick, we from earth we make brick, and from brick we make houses and buildings. So that's why this one is falling under secondary sector, because we are manufacturing or doing industrial activity using primary or natural resources. From primary resources, whatever we get, we use them for our getting derived products. Like from earth we make brick, from wheat we make wheat flour. That's why they are in the secondary sector. Now tertiary sector all depends on the two most sectors. Here what happens is mainly service works are done. Services works are done here. What do you mean by service? Like giving bank service, selling selling products. You have made product through natural resources, and here in this activity you have made product, then you now do the service for this sector. Banks, selling products, then communication, health, and many low skill services. Low skill services are also included. It doesn't mean that tertiary sector consists only skilled works. No, low skill works like selling papers, they are also part in this tertiary sector. So primary deals with harnessing natural resources. They directly take materials from nature, like farm activity, dairy activity, extraction of minerals. But manufacturing or secondary activities deal with manufacturing using those natural resources, whatever we get from this nature, like making chips. Through potatoes we can make chips, so chips is secondary sector, and getting potato is from primary sector. And tertiary, here selling the chips is called tertiary, it falls under tertiary sector. So one sector depends on another sector. People engaging in this work, natural resources, harnessing natural resources, are falling under primary sector. Now after the work, the people who are manufacturing, are engaged in manufacturing or industrial activity, are in the secondary sector. And tertiary sectors are the sectors where in tertiary sector you get or you provide the service. We get the services from that's why they are in tertiary sector, the services we get. So how national income is determined through this all the three sectors, how it is done. So for a big country, how this work is done, that we can say the income of this country is $3 trillion. Like recently Indian economy is in $3 trillion, or $2.9 trillion right now. Right now their Indian economy is $2.9 trillion. How do we consider it? We use the measure GDP. GDP is the total final goods and services produced in an economy. Final goods and services produced in economy is called GDP. You have to understand this term GDP. Like the work we do in primary sector, the work we do in the secondary sector, the work done in tertiary sector is valued together, and we get the final result as GDP. So the more number of GDP is better for a country. The higher the volume of a GDP, the higher the prosperity of a country is. So you have to understand GDP. But if we compare that in our country India on 2011 report, that how many people falls under primary sector, how many people are engaged in secondary, and how many people are engaged in tertiary, and what is the income from this sector. Primary, almost 49% people are engaged in primary activity. So that's why it has a big share from our population. Now secondary consists only 25 or 24, I guess, and tertiary sector compromises or takes 27% of total population. But the GDP it provides is only 15%. Here tertiary sector provide almost 57%, and secondary sector provides 18, almost 18%. So you can see that primary sector compromises largest number of population, but it has only 15% of GDP contribution. On the other hand, we have secondary sector where 24% population is engaged, but it contributes almost 28%. Okay, and In tertiary sector, almost 50%, 20 only 27% of population is engaged, but but it has the largest share of GDP, 57%. So you have to understand why this is the case. So for the reasons we are going to learn that in why. So why it is the case that tertiary sector has largest share of GDP, but on the other hand, primary sector, despite having largest number of population engaged in this sector, only contributes 15% of total GDP. We have to know that agriculture. There are multiple reasons exist in agriculture. Low productivity, basically. Agriculture doesn't have much productivity because of low growth it achieves every year. We have not been so good in terms of agricultural growth. Thereafter, it has disguised unemployment. What do you mean by disguised unemployment? Suppose there are 5 people in a family, and they have a land, but only 3 people is needed. 3 people is needed. 3 people are needed for land work. Other 2 people also engage in this land work, but they don't have any share of the work. Like, though 5 people are engaged in land work, but only 3 people are needed. Though they have been working in that area, but they don't need the work. Land doesn't need their work. So low productivity, mainly unskilled laborers. Lending and seed problem are there in agriculture. That's why we are not able to get full benefits of this sector. That's why it has low share of total national income. So to develop them, we have to ensure that irrigation is done by the government. Other people, like the 2 people who don't have any share for the land work but still doing it, should be educated and turned to them in other sector like secondary or tertiary sector. They should be educated and nourished. We have to make our population skillful so that we can turn them into other sectors, so that we will have proper growth of agriculture. So these problems pertain in our agriculture sector. That's why it has low share of GDP. Now again we are going to organized sector. Organized and unorganized sector. So what is organized sector? Economy of a country is also divided into organized and unorganized sector, but main sector is primary, secondary and tertiary. We use it mainly, but another is organized. Organized sector doesn't have social security. Has social security. In this sector, people working in this sector has social security. They get holiday, agreement work, timely payment, provident fund. But unorganized sector doesn't have this one. They don't have these facilities. Suppose a person is working in a bank. He goes 9 to 5 time, he works in that bank and he comes at home. But in unorganized sector, suppose a person goes at 8 o'clock, come at night 8 o'clock. So because in organized sector mainly skillful person is needed. Okay, So that's why they have these benefits. But in organized sector, low skill laborers can do the work. That's why they don't have those facilities. So what we can do, the solution is we can educate our population, make them skillful. I always emphasize we have to make our population skillful in other areas. You also learn that this way we can save or we can increase our employment ratio. Now, public sector and private sector. What is public and private? Public sector is owned by governments, and private sector is owned by individuals. Example of public sector is railway, post office. Example of private, Tata, Birla, they are owned by individuals. The persons or population engaged in working in this area, and many other examples are there. I am not giving it here. You can read it in your textbook. You just have to understand the basic. After this, you have to read your textbook properly to understand what I just taught to you. They work for profit with an aim for profit, but they are engaged in service because mainly people service, because they get taxes. From taxes they pay the salary of those peoples. That's why they have low charges in railway, post office, because they are paid by citizens taxes. Citizens taxes they collect, government collects them and take the expenditure. So you have to understand, because in our country many people are not educated. We have unemployment problem. So to reduce unemployment problem, we have to make our population skillful through education and health facilities. If we do this, we will be able to have higher growth in terms of GDP. Okay, so what we just learned: primary, secondary and tertiary sector, organized, unorganized, public and private sector. So you read this text, and if you have any queries, you can comment me on the comment section. As of now, we are done. Okay.